Do you have a gardening problem? We can help you with that. A program dedicated to help you grow a better garden, maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make that grass look a little bit greener, as well as preserving what you grow. We're here to help you with your gardening problem. You're tuned in to Garden Talk Radio.
You are listening to the most informational-packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging projects, visit powerplanter.com. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be part of the program today. I am your host, Joy Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
Whether you're listening to our program on one of the 16 stations that is being aired on terrestrial radio this year, or the Simple Radio app, the TuneIn app, our website, that website is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Don't let the name fool you. Under the Season 4 tab at the top of the page on podcast replay or in-studio video replay, we thank you for being with us today. If you want to get a hold of us, you can certainly do that a couple of different ways. One being emailing us at gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to speak with us, you can do that as well. You can give us a call anytime, coast to coast, toll free at 1-800-927-SHOW. 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get on the program right now, and we'll leave a message and we will get back with you. We've got a very good show lined up for you, as we do every week. Nothing has changed on that agenda. First segment, we're going to be talking about growing food, growing edible plants indoors, as well as segment 2, pumpkins, more than you think you knew about pumpkins and more than just jack-o'-lanterns, as well as our guest, Emma Toth, will be with us. She is a community food sharing site creator in the Milwaukee area, and her story can be translated to all cities, villages, and states across the country and around the world. So, Holly, let's get into the program, and let's tackle our first topic of the day, which is growing indoors edible plants over winter. And this segment is sponsored by Happy Leaf LED.
Happy Leaf LED grow lights, proudly made in the USA, a grow light for beginners or advanced indoor gardeners. They have a universal use LED recipe. That means you just turn it on and watch your leafy greens, herbs, vegetables, any plant really grow and thrive. It's the anywhere, anytime garden, a professional grade grow light with a home gardener's affordability. No fans, no motors, just plug in and grow. For more information, you can visit happyleafled.com. That's happyleafled.com.
Now, we bring this up because people can grow indoors over winter without a grow light. People can grow indoors over winter by window light or by a very cheap, inefficient, and ineffective low emitting tube light. However, if you're of any...
Or something like an aquarium light or whatever.
Right. But if you're any of age, you may have already learned in life, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right the first time instead of doing it halfway the first time and doing it on the cheap scale. And then you got to invest more money into the project because the first time didn't work very well. And it's a terrible downhill, slippery slope. So this is not going to be a 12-minute info commercial about Happy Leaf. However, we have a number of Happy Leaf LED grow lights that we use. We've used them for over 5 years without any fault or problem that they have. There's nothing wrong. Very compact, very beneficial. We will speak with the owner of Happy Leaf, a segment in which we recorded some time ago this year, and he will explain a little more in detail about the Happy Leaf the products there. So let's talk about the growing indoors aspect. It's not a far-fetched or I can only do this if I have a lot of space or if I have a big budget.
Right. So one thing is you want to think about a growing area in your home. So if you aren't using a grow light, you would want to think about where you can get some sunlight or put your plants so that they are going to have the sunlight. So usually it's going to be like a south facing window, or we started seeds for many years on our west side of our home.
Right.
So that's one thing.
Which only got the evening sun.
Right. And we started seeds as early as January at that point. So it was a little bit of limited sun as well, the evening sun.
Right. But, we can grow them indoors over winter. The advantage of doing such is you don't need a greenhouse.
No.
Because your house is already warm and it can take, you've got one box already checked off.
Right, for sure. So that's one thing you want to think about is where. Another thing is what you can grow. So some things you can grow a lot of things indoors, but it just depends on how much time and space you have and how soon you want your return on investment, essentially.
Right. With growing with the Happy Leaf LED, it really comes down to space and the medium which you're growing in. We can grow in compost indoors. We can grow in soilless mix indoors. We can grow in hydroponics indoors. That's the process of that you're growing in water and you include nutrients and nutrients in that water for the plants to uptake what is needed. We don't necessarily want to do aquaponics indoors. Now, people do it on a large scale in a warehouse or a shed or a barn. That is that's the practice of using fish, taking their waste and then filtering it through the roots of the plant in order for it to uptake that nutrients that the fish, the byproducts, the manure that the fish use. So hydroponics is a good way to go about inside. Just growing in compost or soilless mix. If you grow in a soilless mix like a cocoa mix or a peat moss mix, you will have to chemically add the nutrients to that soil for the plants to uptake, and there's some chemistry that goes along with that. What we have done is simply put compost, potting soil. Potting soil is fine because if you get a potting soil that has slow release fertilizer, it works just fine. The only disadvantage you need, not disadvantage, the only thing you need to be aware of when growing indoors, if you're using soil, is soil gnats.
Right, and that's something to definitely keep in mind is that you will get those soil gnats. That's the typical name for them, or some people call them white flies.
Fungal gnats.
Fungal gnats. And one thing you can do is you can buy the traps for them, or the sticky yellow trap things, and those work phenomenally.
People, you can make your own, but for whatever reason, the homemade ones simply do not have the effectiveness as the store-bought ones do. So yeah, you can think about that. Now, another thing that people may be thinking about is, well, if I grow something indoors, there's no bees or bugs or anything to pollinate it. However, not all plants in outdoor life actually get pollinated by such insects.
Right. That's something to definitely keep in mind is that you don't necessarily need pollinators. A lot of times people will grow just some microgreens or leafy greens, something like that, just to have some freshness throughout the winter, and that is definitely an option for you. Even like we've grown beans indoors, and that works as well. We've done tomato plants,
right.
So I will say that with the tomatoes, we did cherry tomatoes, and the skin on the cherry tomatoes is a little thick and tough.
Well, that's when we were using the ambient outdoor light. Whenever you use the Happy Leaf, it emits enough light to that fruit so it doesn't have the thickness of skin. The thickness of skin is just it's kind of the offshoot, or the reason for that is the slow development of that plant fruit because it doesn't have enough light.
Right.
That type of thing. So before we go any farther, let's go to Victor, who is the owner and creator, inventor of the Happy Leaf LED grow light. And he will shed a little more information on how to grow indoors when you don't really have a place of indoors to grow in, and some of the tips that he can offer us. So growing indoors over winter with the Happy Leaf LED, there's a couple of things that somebody who is not familiar with that practice needs to know.
Right. So, we've spent a lot of time figuring out how you can grow successfully indoors, and the easiest things to start with are things like microgreens, lettuces, and herbs, but you can grow tomatoes, cucumbers, beets, carrots, anything you want. But the key is light. And, we've all known that you need water, you need the right nutrients, but light has always been the missing element. So in the past, people have built greenhouses to bring light in, but greenhouses are expensive to build. You need the space. The days are still short in the winter. You have to heat them, and you still have a lot of cloudy days. Now, with high-quality LED lights, you can actually get 16 to 18 hours of growth or photosynthesis. They grow quickly. They have the right level of light. There's no cloudy days. And because your home is already heated and has the right humidity levels, you don't have to control the environment or do any kind of special heating like you would in a greenhouse. So Happy Leaf has spent a lot of time over the last few years making it possible to have an indoor greenhouse basically on a baker's rack. Get yourself a baker's rack, put a light on it, and grow your plants. We advocate a process called passive hydroponics made or developed by a professor by the name of Dr. Bernard Kratke at the University of Hawaii. But the truth is you can use any method you want as long as you have the right amount of light. And now it's possible, and the Happy Leaf LEDs were actually designed to give you the right spectrum. A lot of grow lights made in China or even various parts of the U.S.
Or the standard tube light that we're familiar with.
Well, a tube light or a fluorescent, They don't give you nearly the amount of light. They probably want 5 times not enough. And even the grow lights that just have white LEDs are not the optimal grow light. You want red light. And so red light with the right ratio can increase your growth by 250% with the same amount of energy use if you have the right spectrum. And the Happy Leaf LEDs were designed specifically to be able to do that.
And you've got several sizes available from 4-inch to 17 to 33, is that correct?
Correct. So basically the 33 was designed to cover an area of a 3-foot baker's rack. The 17 can do like a 2-foot area pretty much. And the little 4-inch light really is intended to do a couple of jars on your kitchen countertop.
Or even at the office.
Or at the office. A lot of our customers just buy it so they can do something on the office with a plant. But the 17 and the 33 are really the most practical if you're trying to grow some food at home or even your flowers.
And to find out all about the Happy Leaf LED grow lights, go to happyleafled.com. So it's not your grandmother's grow light system anymore.
No.
When we talk about the red light will increase the growth by 250% using the same amount of energy. It's very, very scientific. They've done the scientific stuff, and it's a low-cost unit in order to grow virtually forever. There's a 5-year warranty on it, which that doesn't mean after 5 years it shuts down and says goodbye. It will keep trucking for a very long time. But I don't want you to think that you absolutely have to have a Happy Leaf LED grow light. It makes the job tremendously easier than to have to monitor your plants next to the south-facing window or rotate them or anything like that. It makes it much, much easier. But you can, and we have for many years. We had grown indoors over winter herbs, beans, radishes, those type of things without using a grow light.
Right. And you can definitely do so. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to our show. This is our 31st show of 2020. Did you miss last week's show? We talked about the best indoor plants to grow using leaves in your garden. Our guest was Susanna Shamirak. She's an elderberry expert. Now, you can listen to that show by going to your favorite podcast platform and searching the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener podcast, or we will make it even easier for you. You can find them, send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and in the subject line put show 30, and we will send you the link. We will be right back. Do not go anywhere. We'll be talking about what you can do with pumpkins, all about pumpkins. And you are listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, a program to help you grow a better garden, maintain your landscape, help your trees grow better, make that grass look greener, and preserving what you grow for indoor and out.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Do your trees look sad? When we here at the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardens have a tree or shrub issue, Dr. Jim's is the product we reach for, as it is the product that works. It really provides results. Their small batch, extra potent blend of readily available nutrients is exactly what your trees, plants, and bushes need to regain their health and stay bug-free. It's super easy to use. It feeds the microbes and adds new life to your soil so you can grow stronger plants. Chemical-free, environmentally responsible fertilizer that works. It will put a smile on your face and your plants. To find out more about Tree Secret and other products, visit drjims.com. That's drjimz.com.
Trim Bin turns any chair into a workstation. Comfortably sort your herbs, dried flowers, cannabis, and more. Easily collect pollen with a static brush and mirror finish collection tray. High walls keep your work contained. To get yours, visit harvest-more.com. Made in California.
Do not go anywhere. There is more of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show to come, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com.
The number one key to healthy, productive plants are the roots. Starting from seed to full-grown plants, rootmaker.com has the answer. From seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots, creating a fabulous root system, never again will you have root-bound plants. To multiple gallon grow bag sizes to raised beds, rootmaker.com has your grow needs covered. Visit rootmaker.com. Use coupon code TWVG at checkout and get 10% off your entire order.
Brought to you by Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardens, farms, landscaping, and more. Visit BlueRibbonOrganics.com or call 262-497-8539 to find their products nearest you.
Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center offers an awesome selection of high-quality garden and landscape products. We have just the plants you're looking for: annuals, perennials, veggies, herbs, and more. Plus, you can always count on us to answer all of your questions and offer expert advice. Blue Mel's also carries the largest selection of bulk landscape materials in the area. Enjoy a beverage from our coffee shop while your kids run around in our huge playground. Join our growing list of highly satisfied customers. Visit the garden center that offers everything you're looking for. Visit Blue Mel's today.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Neptune Harvest, Happy Leaf LED, Dripworks, We Grow Indoors, Deer Defeat, Harvest More, Blue Ribbon Organics, Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center, Chip Drop. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Well, it's that time of year. Pumpkins are either growing in your garden or you're going to purchase them from a farm or a store. But there's a whole lot more to pumpkins than painting or carving a face on the front of them. There's a lot of different varieties. Many of people are maybe accustomed to only seeing pumpkins that are yellow, that are jack-o'-lantern, that are designed for the decoration aspect. And some people don't celebrate that holiday. They celebrate the fall harvest, and they use other pumpkins instead of jack-o'-lanterns in order to not only decorate, but also utilize them as a food consumption product. So we're going to go over some stats and figures and some things in which you can do with your pumpkins besides turning them into a spooky face or a happy face or whatever you typically do with a jack-o'-lantern.
Right. So, actually, I just thought of another fun fact, but I'm going to let you say the first fun fact about where pumpkins come from, because this is like, you're excited about it.
Well, this is the majority of jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. Jack-o'-lanterns are specifically and have been for decades grown and bred and created strictly for a thin wall and for decoration, not for consumption, because they're very stringy and they're not good for that at all. They are edible, but they're not good edible. The top producing pumpkin states include Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and surprisingly, California. According to the Illinois Department of Agriculture, 95% of the U.S. crops are grown in Illinois.
There you go.
And there are approximately, give or take, about 45 different varieties of pumpkins. Not jack-o'-lanterns, but pumpkins. There's Jardil, there's jack-o'-lanterns, there's a whole mess of other ones in there. But about 45 different varieties. And we see a lot of them. It's not.
I'm gonna give a
I know,
pumpkin fun fact.
But the stores used to be, when we were young, I don't ever remember seeing a lot of the other varieties. Now they've kind of got to the point where they include a lot of different types of pumpkins.
Yeah,
sure. Because the people want something other. They want something of consumption, more likely, I would assume.
Right, and it's like it's a squash,
right?
Too.
Yeah.
So they use it for like squashy stuff. Okay, so jack-o'-lanterns were actually not originally pumpkins. They used to use turnips.
What was it, over in
Ireland?
Ireland, yeah.
Yep. And then in the U.S., so pumpkins originate from Central America. And
what doesn't come from Central? Tomatoes, peppers, jacans, acas. What doesn't come from South America?
I think this is Central America.
Oh, Central America.
Yeah.
Oh, these are okay. Go ahead.
Anyway, so then as, things travel around, time changes, blah, blah, blah. The jack-o'-lantern was then made from the pumpkin, probably because it's a little bit bigger than a turnip.
Well, they didn't carve the turnip. They didn't hollow it out. They just kind of jousted out the eyes and the mouth. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody must not like turnips very much. Let's just carve a face in these things. It'd be much more beneficial.
I think maybe there's a lot of turnips in Ireland. I don't know. But anyway, so there's a lot of things you can do with pumpkins, and I think people underestimate this
doesn't cross their mind. There's a lot of
right.
There's a lot of facts and tasks in which you can accomplish with a pumpkin, and it just and this is a great thing since we're all spending so much more time at home now with people you either like or you don't like. Make your decision on that. Kids are looking for things to do, and here are some great things in which you can do as a family. With pumpkins.
Or for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. So you can make pumpkin puree. So you would basically, you make pumpkin puree, and you can use this whether it be for a recipe or, when you cook it down, you can actually use it for different beverages. You can use it.
How do you use it for a beverage?
Like you make pumpkin coffee or something. Oh. There's pumpkin cocktail recipes out there. So yeah. So you whip up some pumpkin puree, and it's pretty simple. You just bake the pumpkin down, you peel it, and then you just whip it, whether it be like in a hand mixer or a blender.
Okay. And then that's the other thing. Whenever you buy pumpkin in the can in the store for like a pumpkin pie, am I misinformed here that it's not 100% pumpkin? Isn't there some like butternut squash mixed in with that? And when you make your own pumpkin pie, it's 100% pumpkin puree.
Right. There's some butternut squash mixed in. So that is correct. Yes. So it's not pure pumpkin. So I guess you could just, make your own, and that's fine.
And we have.
Yep. And if it's a pumpkin, like a lot of people will do this with their jack-o'-lanterns, and sometimes jack-o'-lanterns are kind of watery, so you might have to cook it down once you bake it. And then you might have to puree it and cook it down a little bit. But other than that, most pie pumpkins are ideal for that. Hence the name. They have a higher sugar content, and they have a less watery content.
Right. And, like, whenever you do the pumpkin puree, here's a good, easy, simple, very beneficial tip. Only put the amount of puree per container, per Ziploc bag, or per Tupperware that equates to what you need for a pie. If you're going to do pie presentations that well.
Right. For sure. That's, yeah.
Well, let's talk about seeds here.
Yeah. So another thing you can do real quick is you can make a pumpkin planter. So say you find like this phenomenal deal on jack-o'-lanterns or something, you want to carve it out. And right now mums are really popular, and mums are an annual. So you can take a pumpkin, make it into a pumpkin planter, and then you have like this total fall beauty
fancy thing. You can also make soup, and if you get like a small pumpkin, you can make soup and bake it inside of the pumpkin. You carve the gook out of it and the seeds, and you like we did that. Yeah, we did that. Yeah. We've got a video on our website and our YouTube channel. Just search pumpkin soup. Now, there's Cinderella pumpkins, and our favorite, and we've grown this. We didn't grow any this year. Is the Jardil pumpkin. It's a bluish gray pumpkin that can weigh between 6 and 12 pounds. It has a bluish green skin, but a very bright yellowish orange flesh inside with a very thick wall and a small seed cavity that has lots of seeds, but it has a lot of what they call meat, and it's very, very good. We've never found a pumpkin pie that tasted as good as we have when we did the Jardil, and those are very popular whenever you're looking for some to purchase at your garden center, at the grocery store. They do have them available.
Right.
Pumpkin seeds, you can roast them. You can save them. The best way to save them is just pull them out, wash them off, clean them up, and then let them dry, label them, put them in a envelope or some type of container. That way, the jack-o'-lantern seeds are the most popular to roast and salt and use that way. I've seen now in the store where you can purchase pumpkin seeds that taste like ranch and pickles. They have that flavoring on them. So I don't, some people may like that, some people may not, but pumpkin seeds are the other thing with pumpkin seeds, keep this in mind, if you're going to save them for long term, like you want to eat them in March, April, May, be sure you've done the procedure correctly, and they're in an airtight container because they will absorb moisture and they'll get kind of icky after a while. They don't have a tremendously wonderful shelf life if you don't prepare that shelf life correctly.
Right. So yeah, pumpkin seeds. So another thing you can do is you can use it to feed the wildlife, feed your own animals. I'm not talking about your cat or your dog, but if you have goats or chickens, they will eat that pumpkin.
There are several prevalent YouTubers that live on homesteads that after the Halloween time, they have put ads out, or they will set up a place where people can physically drop off their pumpkins on their on that homesteader's property, and they will use that to feed the chickens and the goats and the pigs, and it's a lot of free food for those animals that technically would be thrown in the trash can and gone to the landfill. So that's a great way to utilize that item, and you can also throw it in your compost pile. There's nothing wrong with that, but some of these people will use it for their animals. Now, talk about the pumpkin cocktail, because I'm sure we've got some people who like to drink and like to have some very unique drinks on their, with their cocktails or at their home bars to impress friends. What are we talking about here?
This is more of like a dessert type cocktail. So what you would do is you would water down your pumpkin puree. So you just mix it with water, and then you would add some sort of liqueur that would be complementary to it, whether that be like a cinnamon or a vanilla, something like that. And then you can add a simple syrup to sweeten it, and there you have it.
And I know nothing about making cocktails, don't know a thing, but I understand, like, if you're going to experiment, little bit, see if it works. Don't go all in and go, well, that was a bad thing. Now we've wasted all of that. Both, maybe just drink a little bit more before you try it, and then you'll like it better. Pumpkin hummus.
Yeah, pumpkin hummus. And actually,
well, first of all, people hear the word hummus and they think of the dip, or I guess it's a dip or a spread.
Yeah.
What is hummus made from? And then how do you make pumpkin hummus?
Okay. So hummus is made from chickpeas. And so pumpkin hummus is made from chickpeas and pumpkin.
Oh, so you mix the two together.
Yeah. And you can add a little bit of sugar. You can make it like sweet with like some pumpkin pie spice, and you can make pumpkin pie hummus.
Now we're doing this with the puree, and you're mixing the puree with the chickpea hummus.
Right.
Okay.
Or you can make it savory, and just kind of leave it as is, or you could, just like a pumpkin soup, you might add some different other spices, like some, garlic or onion or something like that. But you can make pumpkin hummus. Well,
I know you make a very good pumpkin cheesecake with that. So before we run out of time, let's do the obvious one here, and we'll talk about this because we are a gardening and canning, preserving program. You can can pumpkin.
Yeah, you can can pumpkin, and it's something that is smart to do, I think, because if you can find your pie pumpkins on sale or a good deal, or
even just pay full price for them because it's well worth it.
It's well worth it, yeah. Or you grow your own, or your farm stand, whatever. Basically, what you're going to do is you want to make sure you peel the pumpkin before you can it. That's important. And then you can it in chunks, about 1 inch size chunks. And yeah, you have to pressure can it. And
it will keep for a number of years. And you put it in a typical quart canned is the right amount for a pie.
Right, for one pie.
One pie, yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a safety. You got to do it the right way, but it really is a very fun and rewarding procedure whenever you've bought it or you've grown your own and go, we had 7 pies this year and everything that we ate, we grew on our property.
Right.
So that works very well. So there's just some of the information there about pumpkins that you may have not known. And, real quick, used, the guts to make vegetable stock, Holly.
Oh yeah, so you can make vegetable, like pumpkin stock or vegetable stock. So say you are carving your pumpkins and you got those guts,
the gelatinous, the slimy gunk.
Yeah, and if you take the seeds out for that, and then you have the guts, and you can make vegetable stock. You can just cook it with the pumpkin and some water, or you can add other random vegetables you have, and you cook it down. What you do is you take that, put in a huge stock pot, add the water, let it cook for a few hours on low. Bring it to a boil first and reduce it to low. Stir it, and then you have pumpkin stock or vegetable stock. And I can't prove this, but I have heard that back many years ago, the Native Americans would take the skin of the pumpkin, weave it together, and make mats for in front of their teepees. And that would make sense. It's very thick and durable. And then you can also take the slimy gook inside of it and add some sugar. There's some recipes online and turn it into a candy. So right. Summer's over, Holly. We know this. Some places are getting snow already, but we won't say that word, even though I already did. Kids are virtually learning. Days are getting shorter, and the nights are colder. The lawn has been forgotten, and it needs your help. Yeah, just because it's fall and maybe we're not thinking about the lawn per se, we don't want to forget about our yards and those Japanese beetles. Either they may be gone, but they're really not that far away. You probably were just dealing with them not too long ago. Not only did they feast on your roses and berries this summer, they laid eggs in your turf so that they can start again next year. You want to take a stand with Phylum's Grub Gone. Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT granular that will specifically target scarab pests and their larvae. Simply apply with the granular with a spreader, irrigate it into the soil, and let the naturally occurring bacteria do its job. Not only is Grub Gone easy to use because Holly just told you how easy it was, it's the only non-chemical choice for effectively controlling grubs. And the best part about this is it's non-toxic to bees and other pollinators and beneficial insects. In fact, Grub Gone has no label restrictions for around flowers and other plants in which pollinators will be attracted to. So you don't have to get on your knees to clean out those flowers, such as dandelions, out of your yard in fear that the bees will take it back to their hive and be affected by it. To find out more about Grub Gone and other products, go to PhylumBioproducts.com, the natural choice. What is that website? It's PHYLLOM, bioproducts.com. Hang around. When we come back, Emma Toth will be with us. She is a community food sharing site creator, and she's got a very fascinating and interesting story for all of us to learn from. You can bet the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardeners phone lines are always jammed during the show. So Joey and Holly keep their phone lines open 24/7 to help you. Call anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-7469. Or just remember 1-800-927-SHOW. SHOW. Leave a message and they will call you back. Planting conditions are always favorable with the Power Planter Earth Auger. No matter what the job is, Power Planter has the right size for you. Simply attach to a drill and let the Power Planter do the work for you, creating holes fast and efficiently with ease. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com. Did you know fall is the best time to plant grass? It's true. With Pearl's premium ultra-low maintenance grass seed, it needs mowing only once every 4 to 6 weeks rather than weekly. Pearl's premium grass grows
4-foot deep roots, so it needs 75% less water and outcompetes other grasses and most weeds without chemicals and stays green year-round. Buy Pearl's premium grass at Whole Food markets in New England, quality garden centers, or buy online at pearlspremium.com. That's pearlspremium.com. And put in the discount code, my name, Joey20. That's Joey20 for 20% off discount today and tomorrow only. pearlspremium.com, the best grass seed you'll ever grow.
Do not go anywhere. There is more of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show to come, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show is brought to you by the following: Phylum Bioproducts, Dr. Jim's, MI Greenhouse LLC, Green Gobbler, Water Hoop, Seed Savers Exchange. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
It's fall now, and Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center still has the items that you need for your property, for your jobs. The bulk material yard will be open until the end of October, so you can either pick it up or have it delivered, and even work on it past that time frame. But that's when that yard, the bulk material, will be available till, as well as they have pumpkins have arrived, as well as ornamental peppers. They have mums. They've got what you need for your fall fun activities. Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center at 4930 West Loomis Road, just off of Layton and Greenfield. Give them a call at 414-282-4220. You can visit them online at bluemels.com.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Yeah, Emma Toth is a gardener and founder of Food is Free Milwaukee. The mission is to assist Milwaukee residents in creating charitable food gardens that provide free, locally grown produce to the community while increasing positive neighborhood engagement through food cultivating and harvest sharing. To find out more, you can search Food is Free MKE on Facebook. Welcome to the program, Emma.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us. And even though, I want to start out with this, even though you're based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, what we're about to talk to you about can be duplicated in every city, village, state, and country in the world.
That is true, and it already has been, actually. We see Food is Free projects all across the country and the world. It started down in Austin, Texas back in 2009, so it's been going for a long time.
Okay. Now, why did you decide to create the Food is Free project, and what was your inspiration?
It was an accident, really. I was inspired by how easy it was to get other neighbors to pitch in. I just started kind of growing my own food for myself and my own family the same way anybody does, and I don't know if it was beginner's luck or a result of doing enough research, but I pretty quickly had more food than I knew what to do with, of course, and started putting it out on a little picnic bench in my alley with a spray-painted sign that just said free, and it was really surprising to me to see how quickly the vegetables disappeared and that I wasn't the only person who wanted more of them. And I reached a peak pretty quickly, though, that I was giving away more produce than I wanted. You know, I would have rather kept some of it to myself, but the neighbors were just so grateful. And just about as that peak hit, vegetables I didn't grow started showing up on the bench, and other little things too, like small pots for seeds starting and leftover bagged dirt. And I started realizing that other people wanted to pitch in. And because of that, I was inspired to kind of make a thing about it and start a little organization called Food is Free MKE.
Whenever you saw the items begin to not only disappear but appear, and of multitude different items, there was that light bulb that came on in your head going, this may have been a happy accident, as many things in life are.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was scared at first that people were going to think I was weird for putting the vegetables out, but when you connect over food, any food, but particularly food that you grew yourself from a seed, and people so quickly start sharing with you why they appreciate that food, whether it is financial reasons that they're dealing with food access struggles or health reasons that they're willing to share with you after only 5 minutes of conversation. It's incredible to see how deep into people's lives, how quickly you can get when you're bonding over the food that you grew.
Well, and that's the thing. Food, and we've heard this for decades, food brings people together, whether there's a barrier of language, color, race, creed, orientation, whatever it is. Food is that magical uniting item that we all have to have, and somehow gives us all some peace in some form or fashion.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we talked about how this isn't just in Milwaukee. What are some great successes, like maybe that you've heard not only in Milwaukee but across the United States, wherever?
Yeah, I've been really inspired by a lot of other Food is Free projects. When that first summer I started growing food, by the end of it, by October, we actually had a little hobby greenhouse donated, and that was really the igniting factor for figuring out how to organize better. And I thought to myself, there's no way I'm the only person doing this. There's just no way. And so I started looking on the internet, and that's when I found the Food is Free project, and their mission just so perfectly aligned. John is a man who started the Food is Free project back in 2009 in Austin, Texas. And what he did was he planted a front yard garden, a very public, visible statement, and it was meant to be shared with the community. And by the end of his first season, he had more than half of the houses on his street growing front yard sharing gardens. And that's how the Food is Free project actually came to be. He ended up inspiring so many other people to take charge in their own community that the project remains open source. And that means each community is encouraged really to cater their own project to the needs of their own communities. So out in Tacoma, Washington, they've got a really strong Food is Free project there, and they deal with a lot of food poverty. So their focus is on turning out the largest amounts of food possible through their connections. Food is Free Albuquerque, they deal with some very interesting situations down there, and they like to focus on gleaning fruit trees. Apparently in Albuquerque, there's a lot of fruit trees that could use some love, and so they've stepped up to take care of redistributing and preserving those fruits that come in. We are really lucky enough as Food is Free MKE to have set an example for a woman named Hillary who lives down in Racine, which is about 30 minutes south of where I currently am. And she kind of looked at what we were doing in our neighborhood and contacted us for a little guidance on establishing Food is Free Racine. And so with our help, she now has a sharing table on her front lawn down in her own hometown. And that's kind of how it's been going on for years now, really.
Well, let's talk about you as a gardener. Now, obviously, you're growing some of the food for obviously your family, but also what you can provide for others. You do such. Where did you always garden, or was the gardening bug kind of started whenever this whole Milwaukee Free MKE kind of started together? Was it a united thing, or had you been gardening before that?
I was a container gardener as a renter. Where I currently live is the first time I've ever owned a house. And as a renter before, I did always do small container gardening, nothing that met any production needs, just, a couple of pots of a couple of plants here and there. But then when I did buy a house and I started looking at what is actually a very tiny urban lot, it looked huge to me. It looked like endless possibilities, and I've never owned land that I didn't have to ask permission to use before. And so I decided that's what I wanted to do, was the best use of the land that I owned was it was going to produce food for me and my family to eat.
And go ahead.
And it was a lot because we don't have the best access to grocery stores or community gardens or farmers markets around here. It's a lot different than the neighborhood we were used to. And so instead of relying on systems that aren't necessarily in place around here, I just wanted to do it myself.
So the question that I have is, in Milwaukee, for people who are Milwaukee is a cold winter climate. What happens over the winter months? Is there still a free option, or how are you planning on working that into the project?
We were definitely given a curveball this year with the pandemic, just like everybody else was, and we kind of shifted a lot from being a gardening-based organization to one that actually kind of took on the challenge of some larger food access struggles. Pretty quickly, back in April, we opened our space to the donation of non-perishable food items. And by July and August, we were running a refrigerator out there. In September, we built a lean-to shed attached to my garage. And so now we have cabinets. So we're kind of functioning like a little outdoor kitchenette. And while I wish I could tell you that I grew enough food for everybody and we preserved a bunch and we're ready to give it out all winter, we did not. We have not met the need for fresh produce to focus on any sort of preservation, but we are hoping that we can inspire others who might have excess to continue to give, because we have created a space that we intend on running year round.
And with that space, at one point you were actually being given school supplies, and then you were actually able to give that out to kids who were not able to purchase that because of whatever reason. So you were able to meet a need there, not so much food, but a necessary need for kids of school age.
Yeah, we're really completely led by what the community wants to do. We go in the direction of what comes our way. And I just came out to the donation table one day and all the school supplies were there. And I really didn't even know there would be a need until I put them out, and they were gone so quickly in the middle of the school day on the second day of the school year. So it's really in listening to the community that we realize what we need to do and when.
Well, before we ask you how people can find out more about you, have you had any resistance of any sort? And what would be one tip for people that you could offer people whom may be wanting to do this, but are like, I don't know. What could you offer them?
It's amazing how little resistance you get if you are just a good neighbor at the base of it all. It seems a little overwhelming to look at it a little far down the line and wanting to make big changes, but at the core of it, when you say your pleases and your thank yous and your smiles and your waves like a good friendly neighbor does, it's really impossible to face opposition to the kind of work that you're doing, in my opinion. That's how it's been going around here, at least.
Right.
I've been able to get away with a pile of mulch spilling halfway into the alley for like 3 months just because I started feeding people and being nice to them. I'm very grateful that my neighbors are supportive of this mission, and it's an honor to allow them the space to pitch in.
Well, that's really, excuse me, that's really awesome. And I I just feel like this is such a wonderful project, and I hope that it encourages others to even if they don't set something up, just think about
be able to donate to somebody who has.
Yeah, donate or just be neighborly or whatever. So, how can we find out more about you?
We are on Food is Free MKE is on Facebook and Instagram. We also can be reached through email at foodisfreemke@gmail.com. If you want to find out more about other Food is Free projects across the rest of the country, foodisfreeproject.org is the website for them, and they also have a really active and supportive Facebook group called Food is Free Project, which is how I joined and I became part of that community. So I would suggest you check that out over there too.
Well, Emma, we greatly appreciate the time you've offered us. Those who are in the Milwaukee area, they're listening via podcast or live on the radio, certainly check Emma out. And if you have excess produce or whatever you may have, you can certainly get a hold of her to find out if you can donate it to her project to help others that are less fortunate than you are.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
And when we come back, it's going to be your garden questions, our garden answers. We'll help you out with your problems. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show program to help your garden grow better.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Protect your plants against damage with a 3-in-1 plant guard and special blend fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com.
Wisconsin Greenhouse Company designs greenhouses specifically built for the northern Midwest climate. All of their greenhouses are made to withstand heavy snow and wind for years to come. They build freestanding and home-attached greenhouses for both commercial growers, schools, and backyard gardeners. Visit WisconsinGreenhouseCompany.com. For more information on pricing or to request a greenhouse catalog, go to WisconsinGreenhouseCompany.com.
Do not go anywhere. There is more of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show to come, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com.
At Big Elk Garlic Farm, they are passionate about their garlic and take great care to provide you with the best seed stock around. Their high-quality garlic is non-GMO. They stand behind their product 100%. Get your garlic for this fall's planting at BigElkGarlicFarm.com.
When it comes to bulk landscaping materials, Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center is where everyone goes. Whatever the project, we have the materials you need with over 40 varieties to choose from. Soils, mulches, gravels, decorative stones, fresh cut sod. Blue Mills has these products in stock and ready for easy pickup or fast delivery. So what are you waiting for? Now is the time to get your yard back into shape. Stop in and pick these materials up or call us for delivery today. Nobody does bulk landscaping materials better than Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center.
Blue Mills, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Power Planter Earth Augers, Ivy Organics, Root Maker, Pomona Universal Pectin, Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated, Pro Plugger, Tomato Snaps, World's Coolest Floating Rain Gauge. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. If you've got a question, get a hold of us. We can help you with that. You can do that by emailing us at gardentalkradio@gmail.com, gardentalkradio@gmail.com, or you can jam your fingers in the phone and give us a call toll-free, coast to coast, 1-800-927-SHOW, 1-800-927-SHOW. Let's go with Gail, who is listening to our show here in Boston, the Boston, Massachusetts area on WCRN 830 AM. And Just so you are aware, for those who are in the Boston market, this is just the way it worked out. They will be running encore presentations of our program November through February until season 5 begins in March next year at the same time as you're listening to it now. So we thank them for that gift to us. She had a couple of questions here. Holly, what are they here?
I just planted a crepe myrtle outside in somewhat of a protected area, and it is flowering and doing well. I know it's not really for my zone, but I decided I would give it a try. I understand if I take care of it with mulch and TLC, it should survive the winter.
Well, yes. Crepe myrtles can. What is it, Holly? She's in what, zone 6?
I think it was 6. Yeah. And they live in about 6 to 7,
which can be questionable because if you're in a zone 6. Sometimes you get the temperature in the winter of a zone 5,
right,
which can be not so great for the plants.
So, and especially depending on where you are in Massachusetts, I'm sure there's some wind and other things. So it's best to, what you want to do is you want to take some burlap and wrap that tree in burlap, and that's going to help give it resistance to the elements, and it should survive over the winter.
Her next question is, I have a lily of the Nile in a pot, and it is doing great. It has the most beautiful flowers, only one, and I know it's a tender perennial and will need to be taken in for the winter. Should I take it out of the pot and put it in a paper sack or in peat moss or in the cellar near the bulkhead, or should I leave it in the pot? I know I need to water it monthly, though. Any advice? Thank you. I also have one in the garden with, which I know I may have to bring in during the winter. This one did not flower, but the leaves are really green and looks healthy. What can I use on both of these to ensure that they will bud again? Thank you very much. I enjoy listening to your show.
Sure. So what you can do is you want to bring it in. You don't need to put it in a paper bag with peat moss. You just leave it in its pot, and you want to find whether that be a dark corner of your basement or indoor garage that might be possibly somewhat heated. Something that's not cold, super cold, but cooler.
Something's chilled.
Yeah. And if that's not possible, then you can always take it and leave it in a back hallway or something. But what you want to do in regards to, yes, you do water it monthly, and that's something that you can do. Excuse me. You just want to make sure it doesn't have to necessarily be monthly. It can be every 6 weeks, but just once the soil starts to look dry, you're going to give it some water.
Yeah. If you don't, keep the soil of some moisture consistency, it will dry out and die.
But you don't want it to. You don't want it to be continually moist. No,
but you want some moisture to be in that container. And
then you also,
even though it looks dry on top, jam your finger in the pot, because even though it may be dry the top 2 inches, and you're like, oh, I need to water, and then you've overwatered it because the bottom 6 inches is extremely moist, and that's not going to be good for the plant.
Right. So there's that, and then to get the bugs off, what you want to do, since I would just keep it as far away from your houseplants as possible. But also what you're going to do is before you bring it in, you can just inspect it for bugs, and then also spray it with a hose, and that should spray all the bugs off as well.
Get up underneath the leaves and blast all of that under the leaves is kind of where they like to hide. Spray the top of the leaves. If you don't want to get the soil moist, you can always cover that with a couple of paper plastic bags, but just to blast the dirt off the leaves, the eggs that could be there, the bugs. You will have some bugs that will come in through the soil, but the majority of them, you'll be able to take and control that. But the leaves and that under the leaves is where a lot of them will come in. Let's go up to Yankton, South Dakota. We've got a question about trees.
Hi, my name is Jim in Parker, South Dakota. Listening to you on WNAX 570, your new station, the biggest in the country. And my question, trees. We got a lot of trees we planted around our new house. Some are about 10, 12 years old. We transplant them somewhere else. They're deciduous and evergreen. Should we fertilize them in the fall? And we've been watering them. It's been very dry here. So thank you very much. I enjoy your show.
Okay, so deciduous and evergreen. Let's define that first for people who are not familiar with that term, Holly.
Sure. So deciduous trees are trees that lose their leaves every year. So whether that be maple, oak, elm, those are all deciduous examples.
If the leaves drop,
it's
yeah.
Yep, it's a deciduous tree. And then evergreen is like a pine, any sort of needly tree, and they don't drop their leaves. They don't really have leaves.
Well, we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
There's some problems that pine trees and evergreens have, but
they're not supposed to.
Right.
Really.
So fertilize now, fertilize how, fertilize in the spring. What do we do?
So you can fertilize now, but that would be for root growth. So if you fertilize now, you would try to find a fertilizer that is meant for root growth for trees, and so it's going to have higher phosphorus in it. And so you can contact your local garden center for that. And when you fertilize, whether it be...
And phosphorus is the second number on the bag of fertilizer.
Right. And when you fertilize, whether that be now or in the spring, you fertilize about, you follow the directions on the package. So it's a liquid fertilizer.
What? You do what?
If it's a liquid fertilizer, it might tell you not to water it in. If it's a granular, it might tell you to water it in and maybe kind of cultivate the soil around it a little bit. But you typically are going to fertilize it around the whole entire tree and about 12 to 18 inches out from the
trunk of the
trunk.
tree.
Thank you. And then in the spring to fertilize, you're going to get an all-purpose fertilizer, and that would be something, again, you can contact your local garden center for. And did you have one?
No, I mean, just if you do it in the fall, if the trees, he has trees that are about 10 to 12 years old, so they probably are fairly established. If they're not established now, they may not be getting established.
But you can fertilize
absolutely.
in the fall. But you want to focus on the roots.
Right. And some people will fertilize with the granular and then they'll cover it with mulch. That way they don't have to work it in. Some fertilizers require you to work it in. If you cover it with mulch, then you don't have to do such because it's already underneath. And then as the water and the microbial life pulls it to feed the plant, then you're good.
That's a good point, though. If you have mulch on your tree already, maybe you have some bark mulch or whatever, some sort of wood mulch, you would want to, before you freshen that mulch, you want to make sure like in the spring, you want to fertilize.
Yeah, you want to pull that mulch completely back until you see bare soil, apply your fertilizer, then reapply, because it doesn't do no good if you're putting fertilizer on the top of 6 inches of mulch. You're really not getting the benefit that fertilizer should be providing.
But obviously, I mean, before you go and lay fresh mulch and go through all that, I forgot to fertilize my tree. Think about that.
We are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Did you miss any portion of today's show? Well, if you did, you can revisit that by doing a couple of different things. You can go to our website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and clicking on the Season 4 tab at the top of the page, scroll all the way down. The shows are on numeric order, 1 through, and today would be 31. And you can revisit it there on podcast replay. You can send us an email at gardentalkradio@gmail.com, and we can get you the link to the show. Tell your friends and tell your garden buddies that the show's on the air, even though we've got a few more weeks left. We still have a lot of content to jam in those few weeks. And you can join us next week on the program where we will be talking about mums, not moms. British people will often have that mums, but we're talking about the flower here. And then also pine trees or evergreen trees, some of the problems and care in which you need to do in order to have a healthy tree for many years to come. And author, she's an author about Language of the Butterflies. Wendy Williams will be with us, and your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joey Baird, and we will see you in the garden.